This is an NC Baptist resource. For more, visit ncbaptist.org. Welcome to the NC Baptist Podcast, the podcast designed to engage with ministry leaders around topics that will explore approaches and resources to help us be on mission together. It's because of your generosity that this resource is available. Learn more at ncbaptist.org/give or contact us at communications@ncbaptist.org.
Well, thanks for tuning in to the North Carolina Baptist Podcast today. I am Mike Pittman, SendNC Director with North Carolina Baptist, and today is a special day. Not only is this our first ever relaunched NC Baptist podcast, but we're currently sitting in the exhibit hall of the 2022 North Carolina Baptist Annual Meeting at the Curry Convention Center in Greensboro, where we are celebrating how God is using NC Baptist as a movement of churches on mission together. Today I'm sitting down with Matt Carter, who serves as Vice President of Mobilization for Send Network, George Ross, who serves as the Send Network South Region Director, and Andrew Hopper, lead pastor of Mercy Hill in Greensboro, one of our SendNC sending churches. We're discussing one of my favorite topics, SendNC, new collaborative church planting partnership between NC Baptist and North American Mission Board's Send Network, and this shared vision of churches planting churches. Brothers, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the first ever NC Baptist podcast. Matt, let's start with you. Not only were you once a church planter, but you're new to the Send Network. Give us a little insight on your role and how God led you to Send Network.
Yeah, so I was a church planter. I started the Austin Stone Community Church back in 2002. in Austin, Texas, and so I planted a church and was the lead pastor there until about 2000, right before the pandemic. And the Lord, it's a long story, but the Lord called me to a church in Houston named Sagemont, and it really in many ways was a replant, a revitalization, great church. And man, through the process of that over the last 2.5 years, it's a long story, but I found out that I have heart disease, pretty significant heart disease, put a stent in, all that. But my doctor told me, he said, Matt, if you don't figure out a way to relax and you're not going to see your grandchildren. And it turns out church revitalization is a difficult task. And so right about that time, Vance Pittman with Send Network, pretty much randomly, reached out to me. Didn't realize I was going through my heart disease and said, man, we're looking for somebody to come be vice president of our mobilization here at Send Network with North American Mission Board. Are you interested? And I said, man, I am. And so I'm having a blast. Basically, my role is to oversee 2 departments, which is kind of all the church planning pipeline there at Send Network, and also a new department called Church Mobilization, which is exactly what you do, which is coming alongside folks like North Carolina Baptist and kind of raising up churches to plant churches.
Man, we're excited to have you, and we're glad that you're here with us here in North Carolina. Welcome, man.
I love it. It's a lot cooler here in North Carolina than in Houston. It's good to be here.
George, NC Baptist and the North American Mission Board have been collaborating this year on the new SendNC partnership. As the South Director for Send Network, can you tell us what the excitement is all about and what this means for NC Baptist churches to be a part of the larger Send Network family?
Absolutely. In my role as South Region Director, I get the privilege of working with our South conventions in church planting partnerships. So the first thing that I would say to North Carolina Baptist, as I have worked with different state conventions and church planting teams across the South, North Carolina Baptist can be incredibly proud of their church planting team, their field missionaries. You guys are doing incredible work. You've been doing incredible church planting work for a long time. So as I think through this partnership, SendNC, and what it means for North Carolina Baptist, it's really what we say, but sometimes we fail to live up to. We are better together than alone. And as we come together in this new partnership, North Carolina Baptists are part of a greater kingdom collaboration. I think through right now what's happening in our South region, we have Send Network Virginia, we have SendNC, Send Texas, Send Arkansas, Send Florida, Send Oklahoma. Those are some of our partnerships that we have, and seeing that greater kingdom collaboration just builds momentum in seeing kingdom work and churches planting churches across our country. North Carolina Baptists can be excited about the partnership because it brings greater resources to the table. As you and I have worked together over these last few months, we're able to see the resources that come through the funding grid.
Yes.
As church plants are able to get an extra level of funding, and what church planter doesn't want that? Then we have something that's new for 2022 going into all of our new partnerships. That's the North American Mission Board Send Network Benefits Package. So we've been working with Godstone for some time, and currently endorsed SendNC church planters get access to free health insurance for their family for the first year. They have a retirement account that's open for them, $1,000 is put into that. They have life insurance that's provided for them, disability. We have a partnership where their payroll and taxes are done and set up for the first year, online giving for free, and then people management for free. And I go back to my church planting days, and I'm like, what happened? How did I miss out on this?
Yeah, I know. We didn't have that 10 years ago when we planted Mercy Hill. So.
I got a box of DVDs. They said, watch these, you'll be good to go. So those are resources I think North Carolina Baptists can be so excited about, and your faithful giving to Annie Armstrong and cooperative giving allows us to do that.
Yeah, man. So exciting. Right, so all the things, you and I have talked about this as church planters, like it's all the stuff we wish we had when we planted our church, right? We're grateful to be on board and just to begin this process. Our planners are so excited about it, and I see this whole convention part of it. I know it's not about church planting, but as far as for the church planters, I see this as a great big celebration of all that the Lord has done in our midst. So, man, we're grateful to be a part of it. For NC Baptists, prayer is our first and primary strategy. So let's take a quick break to let our listeners know of our 2023 year-long prayer emphasis to pray for NC Baptist church planters, missionaries, and unreached people groups in North Carolina.
Prayer is our first and primary strategy. Join other NC Baptists on mission together for a focused prayer initiative throughout 2023 to pray for unreached people groups in North Carolina, NC Baptist missionaries, and church planters. Visit praync.org to sign up for weekly emails and download resources, or text PRAY-NC to 919-925-6525. Follow at NC Baptist on social media and download the NC Baptist mobile app. Thank you for committing to praying for the nations.
Well, thanks for that. Over the break, we were talking about how it was when we first got started. Matt, tell us about when you first planted your church.
Yeah, and so we were just laughing about the fact that these church planters now get all these benefits from Send Network and North Carolina Baptist, and we were just laughing because that's incredible what they're offering them. When I started the Austin Stone back in 2002, I planted through the Southern Baptist of Texas Convention, and they did fund us, and it was very generous, but that was about it. You joked around about getting a thing of CDs. I got some CDs. That's what I got. I had no health insurance. I had no idea how to set up, giving or retirement or anything like that. I literally had no clue what to do. I think I paid myself $12,000 that first year. And so we were poor and we were completely unprepared. And so we have come a long way in church planting in the Southern Baptist Convention.
You're bivocational?
Oh, yeah. I was bivocational. I basically had two jobs in addition to the funding that that they were giving us. But man, I'm just so thankful for these young guys or older guys that are planting a church, because they're much more equipped to do it now because of what you guys are doing at NC Baptist.
What about you, George, when you got started?
When I got started, I really did get a box of DVDs, and I'm thankful for the Mississippi Baptist Convention. I planted right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and there was resources. I'm grateful for that. But the level of training and coaching and care that we have today is really unprecedented in the life of church planting. And that goes into the commitment we have to seeing not just churches planted, but healthy churches with healthy pastors and healthy families. And I think that's such an important part of what we're aiming for as we think about church planting today.
Yeah, there's so much that comes along with like Send Care, and that we're brand new in this relationship with Send Network, and our planters haven't really experienced that. But we're bringing these guys in, and they're going to receive 5 years of planter care for them and their family. And just so many things, and tell us a little bit about that, George.
Yeah, planter care, every endorsed church planter. So as churches think about sending their church to a North American Mission Board Send Network assessment, that assessment is there to help evaluate that planter's readiness to plant a church. And once they're endorsed, they come out of that assessment, they've gotten a ready or a development needed. That endorsed church planter enters into the North American Mission Board Send Network care system. And that care system is that we are quarterly following up with that planter and their spouse. That church planter gets in a brotherhood, whether it's with SendNC or with Send New Orleans, wherever they're located. They get into a brotherhood and sisterhood of church planters that are doing things together over the course of the year. So that care comes in many different ways, and there's a lot of relationships in that, but all endorsed planters step into that, and they have immediate access to coaching for up to 2 years and significant, really good training that can help them in their church planting journey.
Yeah, we love it. Andrew, you're up next, and we're so glad that you're here with us, one of our sending churches here in North Carolina Baptist Convention. And you and I have had this conversation multiple times through the years, but one of the things that we often remind people is that denominations don't plant churches, right? Churches plant churches. And I pray that if SendNC does anything, I pray that we'll create a culture that will be a sender of senders. That's really what our heart is in this. And as one of our great sending churches here in North Carolina, what is it that kind of excites you about SendNC?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that really excites us about where we are as a church, I think coming out when I did, so I was still in high school when you planted, but Matt, I came out 10 years ago, so 2012, and man, we're all pumped about church planting. Like that's kind of the tribe that we have come out of. We're excited about reproduction and all of that, and we're excited to go. I think that for us though, for like a church like Mercy Hill, trying to define over time, we made a shift about 3 years ago from moving from planting a bunch to parenting, to truly saying, man, we're not, by planting, I don't mean money and a mission trip, but by planting, we mean, man, we're trying to, from within the house, raise up the elder, raise up the team, give them the biggest jump start they've ever had on funding, that we still want cooperation and we need it, but we want to have that relationship there, and so that they're never on an island and that kind of thing. The reason this excites me for that is because what it does for them. I mean, like me, Mike, me, you, I mean, we're all talking about it. Like, man, I'm looking back going, well, this don't help me a ton as a planter, right. But man, it helps me a ton as a parent, right? It helps me a ton moving forward with these guys that we have coming out. Our next church plant's going to, going up to Virginia, and we're excited. That's our second one up there, and we're really pumped to see them go. But we're going to have an opportunity to help partner in greater ways. And I would just say it's twofold. The two things that I'm excited about the most are this. Number one is that we have an opportunity, I think, to broaden the network of what these guys are exposed to. We all know this, but the boundaries, we draw them by association, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. They're not geographic boundaries anymore.
Right.
They're ministry philosophy boundaries. They're ideological boundaries. Some of the guys at NAM, I can't give our guys what some of you got. Y'all can put them in relationships with people who are trying to do what they want to do greater than I can. And when we broaden that net, I think we get greater relationships. The second thing I'm excited about is, Mike, and I talked to you about this in North Carolina, we have got to get just excited about the numbers of people we're sending from North Carolina than just the churches that we're planting in the state. That's got to be a scorecard thing for us of like, man, we're sending people. And what is that number? Not just how many churches do we plant. That obviously gets better when the network is broader, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when we talk about SendNC being a part of the greater Send network, we've been running parallel and using a lot of the tools and being able, I feel like in this season what's happening is we've kind of unlocked this box where we have full participation in all things, and we're excited to be connected with teams and planners and sending churches in other states and Texas and Arkansas, and I'm talk all the time with the guys in Virginia and James Peoples down in Florida and just the things that we learn from one another and we're giving, and just, man, I'm grateful to be a part of that greater work, We've had many churches in North Carolina who have planted or are praying about how to become a church planting church. Matt, in your role as Vice President of Mobilization, how do you expect you and your team will be able to benefit these NC Baptist churches?
I think first and foremost, we want to be a part of helping North Carolina Baptists just cast a vision for the fact that I don't care how big you are or how small you are of a church, you can be a church planting church. You can be a sending church. I'm convinced, I'm telling you, I'm convinced in the core of my being, I'm convinced biblically, practically, that this is how we're going to reach the United States. If we have a bunch of Southern Baptists that are just concerned about only growing their church, we're never going to reach folks for Christ in the way that we could. But if everybody's like, all right, not only am I going to grow my church, we're going to raise up people within my church and send them to the lost around the country, we're going to make a dent in this thing in the time that we have before the Lord takes us home. And our job at Send Network is to just come alongside them and help them in any way. Funding, benefits, help mobilizing people in any way we can to help them do that. And I'm excited. People seem to be getting a vision for this. And I think we're going to see God do some pretty awesome stuff over the next decade.
It feels like a different day, does it not? What do you think about that, Andrew?
This is exciting to me because, man, I love the funding and I love all that stuff. But as a parent looking at these guys that are going out, the most exciting part to me is the broader relational network, where they can not just be bound by geographical boundary, but now as I got a guy that's going that maybe has a little bit of a different ministry philosophy, there's such a greater pool to try to help equip him and train him. I feel really excited about what's going forward.
Me too, man. We're just like the sky's the limit, right? So much opportunity that we have here. So, man, I want to thank you, brothers, for being with us. And Matt, George, Andrew, thanks for joining me today for this first relaunched NC Baptist podcast. If your church is interested in planting a church, our SendNC team wants to be on mission together with you. To learn more about SendNC, visit sendnc.org. We are SendNC, churches planting churches everywhere for everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us today. Because of your generosity to NC Baptist, this podcast, along with other helpful resources, are made available for you. Learn more by visiting ncbaptist.org/give.